Hey, Coach, so happy you found us. Make sure you subscribe and like. Those are really important. Also, go over and check out teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better. If you want to win more games, have more fun and less time, let Teach Hoops do it. I have 30 years of coaching. I've been where you've been. I can help you in this process. Let me help you put banners and state titles in your gym. Let me help you do that. Go over and check out teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better. Let's head off to the video.
Hello, coaches, and welcome to another episode of Coaching Youth Hoops. There's a warning along with this particular podcast, and that warning is you pull over if you're driving. Make sure you're buckled in, you got a notebook ready, because you guys are in for a treat today. We have legendary coach on the, you guys fixing his hair. Legendary coach. He goes by the name of Doc, just 3 simple letters. You can't forget that. We'll call him Doc. Over 700 wins as a Pinewood High School girls coach in Los Altos, California. Another Bay Area coach I'm bringing you guys. 6-time Division 5 California State champion. Or is it 10 now? Are we up to 10? That was an embellishment part, right? But 6. That's amazing, coach. 25 league championships, 13 sectional championships. I get that right? 10 NorCal championships, 2014 Coach of the Year. This is state of California, guys, okay? It's 40 plus years of high school coaching experience. What? How? We got to dive into that one. Shooting coach for the famous Jeremy Lin, one of my favorite players. I love that guy. I loved watching him play. Also, nickname of the King of Hop, not the King of Pop, let's not get that wrong, the King of Hop, for his focus on the hop shot, which I have watched every video I could on the hop shot, and that's the only shot I teach and I prefer. Did you know that my self-proclaimed name is the Shot Whisperer, though? So we got something in common, which we haven't talked about that, so we can...
Wow.
So, the Shot
Did not
Whisperer.
know that.
Yeah. Coaches, we are going to talk today about player development, and we have the perfect coach to talk about that. Doc, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thanks for having me.
Dude, that was about 5-minute intro.
I know.
Dude, 40 years of coaching. I mean, that is amazing.
Getting close to my nap time here. That's why I got a Coke Zero here to keep
there you
awake.
go.
I don't get bored with hearing about myself. So
that's amazing, Coach. Yeah, I mean, how? So in this world where high school coaches don't last that long, the parents get to you, the complaints come in, the administration comes down on you. Maybe you don't have a winning season, but it sounds like you guys have been winning for some time, so they keep you around. What's the secret, Coach?
Wow. Do what you love what you do. I think the profit of coaching when I was younger was there was more profit to it. It was more of a noble thing to do, being a coach. I'm a coach. I'm a teacher. Oh, it's noble. But as things have gone on, and now we're 2023, I always tell the story of, sometimes we feel like we're country club employees. Can I clean your clubs? What time is your tea time? We have we've got a scramble going on Saturday. Can I get you a towel? Thank you, sir. You've got $100 gift certificate in the gift shop. I'm not here to, I'm here to work with you as parents to make your child derive the benefits that they want to derive from playing sports as far as an extracurricular activity, and to ignite that passion to get them to love the game. And what we're talking about today is, the younger kids. I've coached all levels of kids, individually and as a team. And you have to really learn who you have to reach, who you have to connect with to get them hooked on the game. And that's what we're trying to do with basketball.
Yeah, definitely. And so let's dive into player development. I mean, there's a lot of things. You go to YouTube, you can search forever looking at videos. You can go to Google, look forever. finding, things about player development. There's a lot of confusion, I think, in the marketplace about what players need at what level, at what time, what
Put away
age.
the cones. Put away the cones.
Now that you say that, that's been in my head since so you and I talked a few days ago and put away the cones, and now all I see, the cones are just like these, they stick out to me now in all these videos, right? And even if you watch, actually, it was something came across my Instagram, and I'm laughing. I'm like, oh my gosh, these cones are not like beacons; they're sticking out. So let's start there, because that's the cones. Let's start with the cones.
Let's go cones. Show me cones for $200. Okay.
Why no cones? The no cone zone. So,
When
what do you mean by that?
Yeah. In other words, basketball is an open skill sport. Closed skill sports like bowling, archery, dance, things like that have very limited variables on what you have to master. But in basketball, you have to teach skills that they have to master so they can participate in that open skill sport. So what I like to do is explain there's foot skills and there's ball skills. The foot skills you have to develop at the youngest age are the ability to stop, ability to start, ability to cut, the ability to pivot, the ability to jump off 1 foot, jump off 2 feet, jump off 1, 2, and combine those elements into a progressive manner to where you're building a basketball player. And then when you add the ball skills of shooting, driving, handling the ball, passing the ball, all those things, you have to, if they don't have good foot skills, their ball skills don't mean anything. So when you develop a basketball player, you have to have those things in mind: foot skills, ball skills, and then as a result of putting them together, you have offensive proficiency. For instance, if you teach them how to come to a balanced stop and they have to catch the ball, then you teach them to come to a balanced stop while they catch the ball, and then they jump to shoot the ball. So, but if they didn't come to a balanced stop and they didn't know how to jump correctly, then what's the use of teaching them to shoot the ball? So I'm just using that as an example as far as what a third grade coach can do to develop their person's ability there. And then the last thing you want to do is, develop their sight skills in a way to where they make the right decision at the right time based on what's in front of them. That's where the game is. I always come up with soccer as an example. When little boys and girls play soccer, when they're first and second grade, you're going like, God, there's 13 kids just kicking each other's shin. But then all of a sudden, 2 or 3 years later, it's like, oh, they understand space, and it's not 12 people around the ball. It's like, oh, they're recognizing that. So the thing we have to keep in mind with the younger kids is brain development as well. But with the younger kids, I always like to tell the coaches that if you have a team for 4 years, 5 years, from 3rd through 8th, you can layer your coverage areas each year for them to master. And that's an important aspect, to look at them as a 3rd grader and go like, these are the things I want them to be able to do. I want them to stop. I want them to pivot. I want them to be able to cut. I want them to be able to start their sprint. I want them to be able to dribble the ball. I want them to have a framework of how to shoot a ball. I want them to be able to stay in front of somebody defensively. Cut. That's all we're doing. And looking at them in that standpoint of their development first, rather than, well, what do I do with a team now? Well, you play man-to-man, and you have that person learn to stay in front of that person. And you have them learn defensively that, okay, you might have to give some help. But their brains aren't ready to do that. Their brains are not ready to do that. But if you just stick them in hey, we're playing a 2-3 zone with their hands up, get your hands up, you're not making them get better at something along the line. Or you can go another route, Vivek Vanadive. When you coach a 12-year-old team, you just have them press the crap out of that team, and they don't have the vision, decision, execution skills, or the length or the strength to make the pass that beats them, and just get your self-esteem raised because you won the NJB championship in LA because you were just pressing the hell out of the other team. It's like, great. None of those girls really played anything more than high school, but they won a national championship at 12 years old. Oh, Vivek, you're genius. You're a genius. No, we're here to develop their ability to play And when you develop their ability to play, you make them better. And when you make somebody more skilled, you open up love of the game. Like, I'm making more shots now. This is great. So our job is to hook them. So, okay, am I done? All right, see ya.
No. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, close the.
I'm on a roll. I'm on a roll.
Yeah, well, and I was just going to add, and if you're listening to this, you got to go over to YouTube, because I think what you're missing just by hearing is you're missing Doc's visuals. So very animated, and I think that's why the kids probably love you. You have a, I don't know, is it okay to say your age? I don't know if you're,
I'm 69, and
69 is you got an energy of a 30-year-old.
When you coach a little girl, a little boys team, you got to be the Bob Barker of basketball, to where you make it fun to be there.
Yeah.
When they're there for an hour, they had fun. But from your standpoint as a coach, you wanted to make it functional fun. Now,
Right.
When you talk functional, the first three letters of functional is fun. Functional fun, to where there is a purpose to what you're doing.
Well, let's dive into two things. I mean, I took notes while you were saying this here, and the first thing is, run me through a 60-minute practice for a youth coach. And we might have to break this up a little bit. So let's say K through third or fourth, and then fifth through eighth. Like, what does that look like?
Sure. I think it depends on where you are with them. If you've already covered how to come to a balanced stop, and there are different types of jump stops, and the term jump stop is kind of a term that doesn't fit the description of what you want them to do. You want to come to a balanced stop. You don't want to jump to stop. So when I'm working with a younger kid, I want feel phrases. I want things that they feel. I want it to come to a quick stop. You take off one, you land on two. Take off one, land on two. Take off one, land on two. And then when you develop their ability to catch a ball, it's like throwing the ball, and now you're going to catch while you take off one, land on two. So a certain amount of footwork at the start of everything. Now, obviously, a lot of times coaches are limited to space and baskets and how many kids they have and time allotted, and try and make that into fun. Well, some sort of warm-up should be footwork oriented, where they come to group jump stops, and after you progress from there, group jump stops and pivots, and then teach them to jump stop and then jump, and have them learn to cut to where they make a stamp cut. And then after you do that, where they're warmed up, then you introduce a ball to it, and they go over like stationary ball handling, to where they work on their crossover without a cone, of course. There's two different types of crossovers. There's two different types of spins. There's two types of behind back, around the back dribble, and there's two types of between the legs dribble. So you've got third graders. Are they going to be able to do a between the legs dribble in third grade? No. You want to teach them the easiest one to do, which is a crossover dribble, and you want them to do it. So when you progress, and I'll use that as an example. I'm sorry, I'm going off on a tangent in terms of teaching skills. When you progress with a change of direction dribble or crossover, well, they have to do it stationary first, and stationary with their head down, to where they're seeing where the ball goes down. And then you've already taught them how to cut. Then you time the cross simultaneous to the cut, and you put it together. And then as they go on, they can do it against the defensive player. But, oh, wait a minute, you've already taught defensive footwork, where they've already learned to shuffle the right way, not gallop the right way, but shuffle. I don't teach sliding anymore. I teach turn and run in a different plane. A great guide for coaches, our youth coaches, is to look up Lee Taft, T-A-F-T. He's a movement basketball specialist. My teams have always gotten compliments how fast they are. No, they're not fast. They just have great basketball speed. They can cut. They stop and balance. They stay in front of people. Their first step is quick. Basketball is a game of balanced stops and short sprints. And when you look at that player, you have to teach them to make sure that every movement they have when they start should be a negative step or a split stop. And that gets into detail. But when you watch people move their feet, you have to get to full speed as fast as you can. The negative step has a negative connotation. Well, wait a minute, it's a negative step. What do you mean? You're going in the wrong direction. No. This gives you a push-off angle.
That's right.
To be as explosive as you can. And I teach this with my 7th and 8th grade PE kids that have no footwork foundation whatsoever. But by the end of the time that you're with them, people look at them and go like, whoa, they're really, they move like athletes. Well, yeah, I can come up with a story I went back to Taiwan and China with Jeremy the year after Linsanity in 2012. And the camp was set up in a way that he was there for the first 3 hours. It's a 12-hour camp, 6 hours in the morning, 6 hours in the afternoon. He was there for the first 3 hours. And then the afternoon, he didn't go. He went to train. The next 3 hours, I handled it. And then he came back. And then when he came back the second day, I said, what do you want him done? Well, let's warm him up first. Okay, well, I want them to work on their cuts. Okay, we'll work cuts. We'll work stop cuts, work stamp cuts, stutter cuts. And we'll work this, we'll work that. And then after 15 minutes, he looked at me and go like, what did you do with them? And like, I made them basketball players. They cut like an athlete. They can stop cut. They can dribble the ball and cross over at the right time. He says, I can't believe the progress they made in 2 days. And I said, that's why you paid me big bucks to come over with you. You know, I'm a teacher. You're a professional. I'm professional at this. So when you design a practice, obviously you have to start out easily. And then after a warm up and after ball handling, we usually get into shooting mechanics. Regardless of the age, it's all about shooting. People now are starting to accept that reality as basketball is an accepted truth now that, you know, everybody on the team's got to be able to shoot. And that's a thing that I've given other clinics on, you know, progressing and developing shooters in a way that, well, you can't have a 5th grader shoot threes. It's like, if they do everything biomechanically correct and everything is working together, you can make somebody into a decent shooter. So I don't want to get in quickly into
we'll save that one for another.
That might be another thing.
Yeah.
Or they can email me, or they can watch my clinic on System Basketball or Coach's Clinic on Coach Tube, I think it is.
Yeah, Coach Tube.
It's very easy to make somebody have good shooting form. And I've changed my way of teaching within the last 5 or 6 years of that. So, but basically basketball's got to flow. You have to keep them busy. I mean, there's no dead time. After an hour, they got to be sweaty. And maybe after some ball handling, you play dribble knockout or dribble tag, or you have, you know, some of the great games for little kids that are not the goal. It's a small-sided game, but keep away, you know, just playing keep away, you know, or playing ultimate ball where you set up end zones in either part of the gym, and you have one team on the other, one team on the other. The reason I call it ultimate ball is because it's like ultimate frisbee, where they have to make pass and receptions and get the ball into the end zone. And it teaches them catching and passing with the right angle, making strong cuts. Well, when did you do that? Well, you did that the first day. You teach them how to cut. And so all those things are progressive to where
would it be like 5-on-5, no dribble? Like
yeah,
full court?
Same thing. Yeah. Same thing, except you have end zones like an end zone in football. And they
you just have to throw the ball in there?
Say it again.
You just have to throw the ball, get it in the net or whatever.
No. You don't throw it in net. It's an end zone like in football.
Oh, gotcha. I'm sorry. Gotcha.
Yeah. Gotcha. You ever seen Ultimate Frisbee?
Yeah.
Except you play it with a ball.
Gotcha. Okay.
You just play with the ball. So they learn about cutting, about space, about getting open, about passing angles. We do it with my girls at high school level, and you would be shocked how they just don't see the game well, because when they were younger, they did 2-ball dribble until they could throw up, and they did cone dribbles, and they did defensive slides, and they did weave, and they were standing around doing nothing. They weren't engaged in an hour of practice. And it's really, really important that the coaches that are watching this understand you are the reason they will love the game. You are the reason. And if you have a practice plan where they are sweaty at the end, they took a lot of shots, they have a smile on their face, they learn to be fun to play with, they're going to want to come back. they're going to love the game. And it relates to your comment about, the numbers of basketball participation with females going down a
Go
little bit.
down. Yeah. So, okay. So, what I heard, if I'm a young
Sorry, I'm
coach-
rambling.
No, you're good. There's just a lot of nuggets in there. Footwork. Emphasize footwork at the young age, at every age, but really at the young age. Don't get caught up into, so basically what you're saying, no Princeton offense for my third grade team. Is that, so I should remove that from the.
Well, as long as they know how to cut and come to a stop and pivot cut, that's all right.
That's okay. Okay.
That's okay. But that gets into another thing about,
Yeah.
robots and things like that. But no.
So at the high school level, do you have, I mean, where's the emphasis on offense? Because, and I bring that up because it's always, offense equals scoring. Kids like to score, therefore more emphasis on offense, right? That's a mentality. So when you're thinking about an offense, because what triggered me when you said that is this, like, oh, I move here and now I go here. This person, right? I'm a robot, right?
Sure.
I don't believe that either, because that's not, you can't script it. That's, the defense does something else. The girl is off a half an inch on her cut, which throws off, the universe. So talk to me about offense.
Oh my God. You're not going to be able to talk for the next half hour. When we get back to that ultimate ball game, they learn about space. When you talk about football, it's separation. You talk about soccer, it's moving to space. When you talk about basketball, it's also about space, get open and stuff. Well, what does that mean? It's like, it's all about achieving space as an offensive player, and defensive player has to take away space. And that's related to that. When I teach our offense, I mean, there's several offenses. You run dribble, drive, motion, you run read and react, you go Princeton, you go, Phil Jackson, what was that? Triangle, you go this, you go that.
Yeah.
When we play offense, it's all about creating advantages. And you can do that in many different ways. But when I teach offensive basketball, I invert it back to 4-0, 5-0 spacing, to where every time somebody drives, everybody's moving into spots. And if you're moving into spots, you're creating a long closeout. And put it together here, if my team all has 0.6 catch and shoot release times, because they learned it from the king of hop, that they make a good first touch decision on that catch to whether they're open or not. If the person is within 6 feet, I'm going to go by them. If they're there in the catch, I'm going to move the ball. This is and if they're off 6 feet or more, it's gone. It's in their eye. So that type of mentality, the ball is always moving. I'm going to shoot it, drive it, or move it. And training your players to make this good first touch decision is something that requires a thing every single day. So when they catch the ball, they always catch with their ball in the air, feet in the air. They plan to shoot and react to attack. In other words, they don't catch and see if they're open. They recognize they're opening right away. This is advanced stuff that you can't teach a third or fourth grader. So I'm getting offline with that.
Yeah.
But if I were to get a player that had ball in the air, feet in the air from the third or fourth grade, and they could have a nice catch and shoot off a hop, and they could make a basic first touch decision to drive in the right way with great footwork at a good pushing angle with a nice 45-degree wide stance, then I'm going to be able to build this player from the second floor up, instead of, oh my God, this girl can't even, some girls haven't been taught ball in the air, feet in the air. Some girls haven't been taught jump to the ball defensively. It's like, I'm not talking Swahili here. It's a basic tenet, a biblical tenet. Thou shalt jump to the ball on every pass. Not, it's like, I just want to say to him, and I might offend somebody when I say this, who coached you? Who coached you? Because if you didn't get coached that, you need to get your money back. You need to get your money back, because this is a basic basketball trait, playing fundamental sound defense. And you know this, being a coach, And it's like, okay, put away the cones, put away the 2-ball dribble. I'm not sure you want to teach a step back to a 6-year-old, you know? I don't think that's, you know, they're just teaching what they know. So they don't understand it from a motor learning standpoint of what a little kid can do. So our offense is based on creating advantages. And the reason why our team is successful is because every girl can shoot. I'm going to give an example last night that might offend some people. Why did the Warriors win last night?
Because they could shoot. They hit more shots than they did
Okay,
the
and
first two games.
who did not play last night? Like, let me think about that one.
I thought about that too during the game.
There was more space on the floor because Draymond and Looney can't hit a bull in the ass with a snow shovel outside. You can help off those guys, right?
Yeah.
Well, now Draymond's terrific. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. He's terrific defensively. Just blah, 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 blah. But he hasn't embraced.
Here comes the hate mail already. It's not even aired yet. We're getting hate mail.
Yeah. But believe me, Draymond had a chance to work with me, and he didn't take it. So he'd be a different player now. I guarantee it.
He'd be a Steph Curry. He'd look like Steph Curry and Jeremy Lin combined. Is that right?
Well, no.
I want you to picture
that's
that.
The thing. That's the thing too. When you're related to the younger kids that were dealing, the coaches over there, is that you set the foundation for them shooting for them. You can do it. It's like, well,
that's right.
And you don't teach them like you were taught. Get your elbow in, hand underneath the ball. You know, step into the shot. Put a lot of arc on it. Go straight up and straight down. All those tenets that we were taught are totally untrue. Totally untrue. So if you buy my shooting video at $39.99, no, I don't have any videos on there, but it's free on some of these things I did. You can make somebody a shooter. Well, you know, when I work with high school kids or college kids, you know, I'm like, or talk to their coaches like, well, I can't change their shot. You sure as hell can.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can make somebody better. You can augment their shot. You can make it better.
It's them who definitely, you know, what I always hear on that, they're just been going through this. Well, that feels awkward. Of course it's awkward because it's new. Well, it doesn't feel right. Well, it's because for the last, whatever, 10 years, 12 years, 13 years of your life, you've been doing it wrong. Right. Why do you think why do you think the ball's not falling? Right. Or, hey, well, coach, it's going in. Well, what's your shooting percentage? What's your free throw percent? What's your shooting percentage under pressure? Well, okay. Well, let's, now it's time to sit down and talk about that.
No,
that's why they call me the shot whisperer. I can change anybody's shot.
That's
whisper in your ear, coach.
Let me tell you. And let me just give you a hint. I'll give you 4 things. Jump quick. After you jump, land with your feet in front. Where's the ball when you jump? At your waist. Keep your arc down, mid-40s. You can be a human Noah machine just with your eyes. And with those 4 things, you can make a shooter better. When I work with 7th and 8th grade PE students, I work rhythm first, the rhythm of shooting, rhythm of anything. I go rhythm first in every skill I teach now in PE, whether it be bowling, whether it be golf, whether it be frisbee golf, throwing a frisbee, hockey, anything is rhythm, is shifting your weight, transferring your weight at the right way. And basketball shooting is a sport where you can't have any hip rotation and you have to stay on your line. Well, you have to teach them the rhythm first of just jumping with the ball at their waist. So many times coaches make a mistake because they bring the ball to a pocket and they jump with the ball there. No, the ball's at your waist when you jump. Ball is at your waist when you jump. And even with pros that I've worked with, not just Jeremy Lin, but I've helped some other guys with their shot as a shot whisperer. They're not jumping with the ball at their waist. Well, wait a minute, I'm going to get my shot blocked. Dude, you got your shot blocked because you weren't open. You know, that's why. You should have drove there. You should have drove.
Okay, so I came up with a little saying for that. And I don't know, it's because I heard, maybe watched your videos and it was like, okay, I got to relate sound bites, right? Sound bites work with kids. So I go ball to the thigh, right? So ball catch to the thigh. So you're loading, right? Ball to the thigh, thumb to the eye, hand to the sky, right? Good. And follow through. So it's just like, and I say you got to do that in rhythm then, right? It's not just like 1, 2, 3. It's like, it's, I always do a count of 1, right? One. Well, mine is spring snap sweep. Spring with your feet. One of the things that's not
emphasized or talked about is a consistent jump every time. If you're using your legs when you
That's
shoot a
right.
ball, you have to jump the same way. You can't. So that's when it just
Oh,
pisses me
amen.
off. I work with girls now, high school girls. Their shot is.
Hey, everybody. I'm jumping in here. Coach Bill has decided to help me out for the end of the school year, and daughter's graduating, so I really appreciate that. But I wanted to jump on and tell you how excited I am about coachingyouthhoops.com, something Bill and I have put together. You know, it's going to improve your coaching. It's going to improve your player skills. It's for you with your busy schedule, everything you want, practice plan. There's nothing else like this. I'm telling you, very rarely do I get this excited unless I'm walking down Main Street at Disney World. I am telling you, you can print the practice plan. It's everything you need to be a youth basketball coach. It's a roadmap, everything. It's awesome, and it's at a very, very, very reasonable price. I'm on Bill about increasing prices. So if you're thinking about getting in, you better get in now before the next season comes around. But anyway, let's head back to the podcast.
Just like, I don't want you to bend your knees after you catch the ball, babe. You know, you got to spring when you do it. When you spring when you do it, that adds power.
Oh my gosh.
That
Coach,
adds power
this
to your
is
shot.
funny. This
You
is
have
great.
to be springy. Boing, boing.
Yeah.
I'll show them videos of all the best shooters have a quick jump. Giving an example of, you know, where people will get a vision. Look how high Russell Westbrook jumps and powerful he jumps. That's why he's a terrible shooter, because he jumps with too much power, and he takes it and his upper body throw. If he jumped like Clay and Steph and Lillard and Trey Young and Kevin Durant, where it's a quick, efficient, low, consistent, athletic, elastic, but just bouncy, like jumping.
Yeah.
Boing,
Well, and
boing.
again, it comes back to
That's-
what you've been talking about. It's footwork. It's
Yeah.
footwork. It starts with the feet.
Yeah,
Your shot
teach them
starts
to
with the
jump.
feet. I was, yeah,
Teach
right.
them to jump. But the thing is, you have to be with the younger players. When I say the word, now I'm going to get your reaction to this,
Yeah.
Bill. When I say boing, 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 what do you think about when I say boing?
like a kangaroo,
boing, boing?
right? Like this, right?
What are you doing? It's a spring sound,
Spring
right?
sound. Yeah. Yeah.
Boing, boing, boing.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I want them to feel when they shoot. They're springing up. And when I give the term snap, I want to snap your wrist.
Yeah.
That gives the feeling, oh, my hand goes through the ball. Follow through, hand through the ball, snap your wrist, flick your wrist. I've had to tell a girl that has so much power on her shot. It's like, are you on steroids or something, or what? I need you to flick. I need it to be a flick, because you have all this lower body force pushing into the ground, springing into your shot. And now I need you to be softer with your upper body so you have better control of it. So, and the flow of your feet going forward, or the sweep of your feet. I stole this from Paul Hoover and Pro Shot, Matt Williamson as well, is that your feet have to flow forward. So I'm working with one of my former players who's starting her own business at, her name is Hannah Jump. She plays at Stanford. She's a great shooter. And I said, I have tips for you, because you're going to be working with younger girls. I mean, they look up Hannah Jump. Oh my God, I get to work with Hannah Jump. Yeah, I want you to be great at it. So here are my tips for you, in terms of, you don't even put a ball in their hand first. You just have them jump like they're shooting. And you first have them jump with their hands on top of their head. They look and feel terrible. And then I want their arms to be right here where I shake hands with somebody. And I want them to use their arms to help them jump and have them feel the rhythm. And then after that, their feet flow forward like a leaf falling down from the sky, rather than a broad jump forward. And then after 2 minutes, if somebody were to walk in the gym, or even a parent watching their kid, you know, get a lesson, they'll go like, damn, they look like Klay Thompson. It's like, yeah, because they're flowing forward. They have good rhythm, the rhythm of hitting a tennis stroke. Freddie Couples' golf swing, Ernie Els' golf swing, you know, to Klay Thompson shooting a ball. You come up with all these visuals of people doing things in perfection. That's your goal. That's easy to attain with a young player.
Well, so just to visualize this, so
Sure.
let's say I'm lining my, and I'm going to do this exercise. I have all my players lined up along the 3-point arc right now. Okay, their feet are behind the arc.
Right.
So first off, when you're practicing the flow forward, when they actually land, now they are landing, they should be, their foot is on the other side of the arc.
Both feet. Yeah.
Both feet
They
completely
I can't
over.
even see it. You got my feet here. So when I land,
There you go.
I
Yeah, I
land.
see.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
And your shoulders stay back. When
Your shoulders do stay back. Okay. That's really important.
Stay back. You
So your
don't.
feet are out in front, and your shoulders are back. Got it. Okay.
Correct.
I'm gonna work on that tonight.
And you can do that with a third grader.
Yeah,
do that with a
absolutely.
third grader. Well,
Yeah.
absolutely. And they feel
Yeah.
the rhythm, because some clown will tell them, no, I want you to start your shot right here. It's like, dude, no, your
No.
shot starts with the jump at your waist. I'm not telling you to shoot it at your waist. I'm
That's right.
telling you to shoot it where you normally shoot it, but I want you to jump and shoot the ball. And sometimes I have to put my hand on top of their hands, like, no, you're using your arms to help your jump. So you're using your arms for two purposes: to bring the ball up, but also bring you up. So that's the first thing you attack with younger players. And it's like, the coaches that I hear talk about, well, I'm not going to let them shoot threes until they're in the 7th grade. And it's like, what? If you teach them to shoot the ball properly, they can shoot threes. And as a result, what's going to happen? They're going to win. They get into their ego. They're going to win. Oh my God. All these kids on their team can shoot threes, and it's like, okay, that's part of it too. We all have egos and want to win, and that's part of it. So your goal as a coach with this is, I'm going to and shooting is the most important skill in basketball. You have to cover it in 3rd grade. Now there's lack of strength. Hand size is small. Don't be obsessed with, get your hand underneath and make it. They don't have that. They'll use their hand a little bit. It's okay. As long as they're flowing forward. But then as they get older, their hands get bigger. It's more comfortable behind the ball, and they're going to be able to do it. So many times I'll have to talk dads down off the cliff that he doesn't have perfect form. It's like, the dude is 9 years old, as long as his rhythm is good, or they want him to make every shot. So I have to tell, I have to tell people that where they're at right now for a 7th grader is way ahead of the game, because they have beautiful rhythm. They land and spring up when they shoot. They have pretty good follow through. But the best shooters have 2 things in common: consistent form, and they shoot a lot. Yeah. And that's what you try and do with the players on your younger teams, is hook them on the game, to get in the driveway or get out in the street to their hoop. Have their dad rebound for them, have their mom rebound for them. So when I educate the parents about their kid, I make them what I call the AC. You're the new, you're going to listen to your dad, you're going to listen to your mom. They're the AC. What's that? It's like, well, they're the arc coordinator. So I teach them how to follow the flight of the ball. So it comes in at a perfect 45 degrees. Nobody really has access to Noah machine, but everybody's been bamboozled in terms of giving shooting advice that, she's been told her shot is flat. No, dude, that ball's hitting the front rim. It's not flat. You need to hit the back rim. That part of it is most people miss short, and I'll have them assess the fact that if 1/3 of the ball hits the back rim, the ball will go in. All right. So there's about, I can't spread my hands wide enough, but the rim is like 19 inches in circumference. All right. The ball will go in if you put it within a 12-inch distance on it. And that's what shooting is distance control, force management, touch, muscle memory, however you want to say it. And part of that with the younger kids is getting them to feel the power, to feel their powers with the jump of their shot, spring power, not chuck and duck power. So I always ask people this, and I don't remember if we talked about it then. Do you know what the theme of the Wizard of Oz is? I mean, the underlying theme, the symbolistic part, the message sent on the Wizard of Oz was the good witch saying it to Dorothy, "You've always had the power. You just have to learn it for yourself." Well, what you're doing with the younger kids is that they have the power. They just need to learn how their body works to work with the ball. Clay refers to it as you have water flowing from your feet all the way through your fingertips when you shoot. And he's not
Good
adhering
analogy.
to that all the time because sometimes his rhythm goes off and needs a little reminder through a little birdie I know to make sure you jump with the ball at your waist. When you notice when Clay does not dip the ball and jump the ball with his waist, his percentage goes down. Well, how am I going to get my shot off? I have to speed up my release. As a result of missing more shots, you shouldn't take the shot. You should drive then. So I think one of my acquaintances just did a shooting clinic last week for Coach Hart's system basketball, Brianna Joy Garza. And I love her because she espouses all the things I espouse, is that she on some website, they had stats that there were 12 made shots of people that did not dip the ball on outside threes. 12 made.
Wow.
The whole year, last year.
The whole year.
Whole year.
Wow.
Without dipping. And then people say, well, you're not supposed to dip the ball. It's like, you're a quack. You're a fraud. Everybody dips the ball.
The ball.
This is where you jump with rhythm. Well, you're going to get the ball stripped. Dude, I'm open to shoot it. I have space to shoot it. I'm not going to get stripped. Well, I should drive it then. If they're there on my catch and I have the ball right here, I probably should move the ball. I'm not open to shoot it. And that's the thing that you have to teach kids, you know, is a definition of open. What is open?
What is open?
You know, what is open?
And that's tough, right?
How do you get open? You know,
right.
But that's
starts with footwork. That's how you get open on those cuts, right?
That's right. Got to get open.
Push off,
Strong
and you have
cuts.
to get open.
Yeah,
That's right. Yeah.
You can't take two gallops and then jog to get open, because that pit bull doesn't want you to get it. And I have to educate my high school team on that. I'll just say to, and they sometimes think I'm blunt, and just say, you'll never get open like that. You're lowering my self-esteem. No, you're not going to get open when you play an athletic team that's quick, that doesn't want you to get the ball. You have to make an explosive cut and come to a balanced stop as you catch the ball. And if they get this in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, it's in them. It's a habit. It's like hitting the ball and running to first.
Well, let's do this. This will be a fun little exercise, and I'm going to put you to the test here. So one thing we have to come back to, and I think this might be a fun PDF for you and I to create.
Sure.
Doc's 10 Commandments of Basketball. We're going to do that one. So we're going to come back and
okay.
I think that would be fun. All right. Okay, here we go. You ready?
Do I have to have a beard or something? Do I have a beard and
maybe
here, you know?
Right? Why not?
It's like,
I'll generate it through AI. Don't worry about it.
Or I can be Mel Brooks breaking the 10 Commandments and going the 5 Commandments.
Yeah, maybe you
Mel Brooks fans out there. Anyway.
Okay, here we go. This is what we're going to do. We're going to go through by age, and I want your first reaction to this question, which is the one skill you would definitely emphasize if there's the only thing you were going to teach at a normal progression of an athlete, 3rd through 8th. Okay, it's the one thing. You ready? 3rd grade, what would you teach? The only thing you're going to do for the whole year. Now, we know it's boring and all of that might be for the whole year, but you get it.
Are you talking footwork, a specific foot skill, or just
whatever skill, foot skill, whatever you think? What would you teach at the 3rd grade? You're going to do one thing that they're going to be an amazing. All this 3rd through 8, if they do these, they do these 5 things throughout. Right. By the time they get to high school, they're going to be playing for you and starting and be
balance stop. Balance stop.
So 3rd grade, balance stop. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. 4th grade.
And understand the difference types of balance stops.
Oh, okay.
As a result of coming to a balance stop. So when I start, if I came to a balance stop, when you think of a between the legs dribble, you're coming to a balance stop as the ball bounces between your legs. It's a different type of jump stop because your feet are at 45.
Yeah.
You're exploding the other way. Well, in order to be able to do that, you have to learn the basics of a balanced stop. And then you have to learn the basics of a stop cut. In football, they call it a jump cut. A running back will be running and they come to a jump cut while they see somebody that's going to tackle them, and they read where they're lunging, and they evade them. Well, bottom line, you answer your question, balanced stops.
Balanced stops. Okay. 4th grade.
Wow.
Tough question. I know.
Yeah, it is.
The progression.
The thing is that you should want to cover 6 or 7 things that they're able to do after 3rd grade. You know, I would say a short sprint, bounce, stop, short sprint.
Short sprint. So we got bounce, stop, short sprint. That's interesting. Okay, 5th grade.
Being able to shoot the ball at a distance out of that balance stop or off a dribble. Now, keep in mind, if they didn't know how to come to a balance stop,
correct,
and they didn't know how to dribble the ball, they couldn't shoot the ball off a dribble, or they couldn't shoot the ball off a catch. So there's a lot of it's almost like if the thing is, your questions are great, absolutely fabulous, but you have a list of things in 3rd grade you want them to cover.
I know, it's a list,
and that list is right there.
Yeah.
But then when they go to 4th grade, you still got this, and then you want this. So, and to be more specific about it, it's like, okay, so every 3rd grader, they're going to know how to stop. They're going to know how to make a cut. They're going to have a crossover dribble. That's it in terms of ball handling. You're not going to go between the legs. You're not going to go spin or around the back, something they're not going to be able to do. If they can do it, go ahead and pay $120, some clown trainer. They'll rip you off to be able to do that and have it not functional to anything what they're doing. But you have a list, and by the time they get to 8th grade, they all can catch and shoot. They all can shoot off a dribble. They all have all change of direction dribbles. They all have basic man-to-man defensive principles of staying in front of the person with the ball. They all can jump to the ball. They all can help and recover. They all do those things in a progressive fashion. So you can't really,
I know. So I put you in a tough
say
spot.
just one.
Absolutely.
What do you want to cover? Like if I say you want to be able to come to a balanced stop, it's like, then the next thing is you want them to be able to do this. Like all this other stuff. No, you cover that 3rd grade. So I hope I was helpful with that.
Yeah, no, and I guess here what I guess really truly what the point is what I always hear from youth coaches, and I'm sure you do too, is they're jumping 5 steps ahead. They're doing the behind the back, dribble, spin dribble, and everything else, and
doing them wrong too. By the way, doing them wrong.
And I think what we're trying to say is, there's a baseline you need first, and it starts with a lot of footwork, and it starts with some basic dribbling drills and skills. And if you have that foundation, then the next year you just layer a little bit more, and the next year a little bit more, next year a little bit more. You can't boil the ocean, right? In 3rd grade.
Absolutely perfect. I can come up with an example of a young gal that she was 6-year-old 1st grader, and the gentleman that called me said, "Do you know anybody that can, would work with my 6-year-old? Loves the game, this and that. She's been working with this college kid that has her doing 2-ball dribble and doing step backs, and she doesn't have basics in." And I'm going like, yeah, well, that's all he knows how to do. So I set her up with one of my assistant coaches, and that's a classic example of you've skipped A through J. You're getting into K. They can't even come to a balanced stop. It's like, okay, so when you teach somebody a step back, first of all, I call it a hop back, because you're not stepping back, you're hopping back. But when you're teaching that, what are you basically doing is a jump stop, where you're jump stopping where? Backwards. Okay, so if they don't know how to jump stop going on the same plane, how do you expect them to jump stop backwards? It's like, but these people that are that don't understand the progression. It's not that they're mean or idiots or anything like that.
No,
they just don't know where to start. And that's the purpose of what you're trying to do, is to educate people to make it great for the kids, so they want to play more and enjoy more. And if they do that, they'll practice more. And what do you have? You have somebody that's a great basketball player.
That's right.
That's the goal. That's the whole goal.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I've said it before and said it on this podcast. My goal is to positively influence 1 million kids in 10 years through the game of basketball. Right. And we do that by educating the coaches and teaching the game the right way. Having guests like you come on years of lot more, lot more years of experience than I have.
I've
But
almost
we
been
all learn
coaching
together.
longer than you've been alive.
You
So
probably have. So
1977, my first basketball team.
I was
So
6.
there you go, right there.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's amazing. Then that's why I said, Coach, I hope you're still pulled over and you're taking notes on this one, and definitely save this one and come back to it. But let's wrap this up. So I think in the nutshell, and you're gonna, again, what I heard, the big takeaway for me, what I'm gonna teach my teams at the young levels is definitely focus more on footwork than I ever
Right.
have before.
Because they can do that,
Yeah.
the strength differential, they can concentrate on great footwork. And look at Kobe and Michael Jordan. The thing that they're really, people look at the dunking and this and that, but their footwork and balance is impeccable.
Yeah.
That's why they were good. And when you look at, when I describe balance stops and short sprints, I mean, every drive is a short sprint. You have to be able to accelerate and put your body at that. Well, if they don't get that in 3rd and 4th grade, then you're just cheating them of getting better of those things. And the thing is that no matter how much or think or don't know, there's always ways to get better. And you have to find the right avenues to be able to do that from people that know how to develop a player.
And I do have one more question, because I think this
Sure.
one comes up a lot, or it does come up a lot, and I think it would be good to talk about it really here. We're talking about development. I'll call them, when I say this, there's always some kind of, offenses, at the 3rd grade level versus the 8th grade level, but these off the shelf kind of offenses, the read and react, the 5-out motion, 4-out, 1 in kind of concepts, the name your off the shelf. Yeah, I'm going to do this one, right? The triangle, right? You talked about some of these. Okay.
Sure.
So when do I when do I start thinking about, I'm a youth coach, I want to, off the box, I'm going to do the read and react. When should I start thinking about that as a youth coach, or not at all? What's your thoughts and philosophies on that?
Well, it's changed a little bit, that's for sure. Another resource for the people listening, watching, Brian McCormick has
yeah, Brian's great. Yeah.
Blitz basketball, Saba, small advantage, big advantage. Rather than give the ball to your best player and have them shoot all the time. He liked a high ball screen and have the person drive and find somebody with spacing. So they have to understand the space.
Yeah.
There's no particular offense. Read and react, I think, would be great. I mean, when I was just giving everybody the background, I was a high school coach up in 77, and then I started coaching my kids' teams. And I experienced the joy of another level of coaching, to where it's embryonic stage. I mean, I'm developing these little players that turned out to be pretty good high school players because they had sound fundamentals and functional fundamentals. But I ran flex. I ran flex just to get them pass, screen away, use that screen, get open, pass, screen away. Okay, move without the ball. But I think if I were to do it again, it'd be more layering it and read and react to where you're going to, and have them layer that development as they get older to more layers of the read and react, where you're going to pass, you're going to cut. Somebody cuts, you fill. Okay, pass and cut. The thing they don't teach there is you're a weapon on the catch. Jay Wright gets credit for saying, you'll never be more open than when you catch the ball. It's like, duh, teaching that for like 25 years, for crying out loud. It's like, you are a threat on the catch. I'm a weapon right when I catch the ball. So think of it as a 3rd grade coach. You've taught them to jump stop. You've taught them to spring when they're shot. And you've given them like one-on-one work in terms of read the defender. And it's like every time they catch the ball, they're hopping on the catch. They show them and I pass the ball. Now, should you tell them to give and go cut or screen away or set a ball screen defense? That's up to them. But just the thing I teach now with my high school girls, and some of them don't have the same mindset of playing. Some of them do. John's players at San Ramon Valley playing with their high school girls get how we play. It's active spacing. Anytime somebody drives, people are moving into space. And if everybody is moving into space and they've created an advantage for, in other words, two are guarding one and they pass it out to somebody, I'm passing to Bill. If he has a catch and shoot, it's gone, you know? And when you teach younger players to do, you want them to be able to make decisions with the ball. I call it first touch decision. We're getting into vision decision execution.
Yeah, exactly.
Now.
Yeah.
Probably
We'll come back to that. That'll be part 2.
Probably not good. So cut home.
Okay,
Anyway,
good.
those things are something when you start an offense, you want to make it to where you're blending the skills you're developing into that. So there's no one offense to do really at first, but there are concepts you want them to have for the rest of their life. I always use the example, hit the ball, run to first. Okay, so we all play baseball or softball or kickball. You kick the ball, you hit the ball, where do you run? And they look at me like I'm nuts, like, oh, you run to first. Right? Yeah. How do you know that? Well, that's how you play. It's like, right. At some point in time, there's some coach that run right after you hit the ball. You're telling you to run. Well, that's action reaction. And if I'm at first and there's 2 outs and the ball's hit, go on contact. Ball's hit on the ground, 1 out, I'm going on the ground. So these are action reactions, and basketball's the same way. Every time I'm guarding the ball and they pass the ball, I jump to the ball. Action reaction. Yeah. Every time you catch the ball in the air, feet in the air. All right. That's something they don't have to think about. So those drills that you create in your younger kids' practice will evolve into them being offensive players that don't run plays. They just play. They drive and kick. They drive and find. They drive in space. So those principles of the drive motion really apply to when somebody is creating an advantage and where's the help coming from? And that's how you develop a player. You can do that in the younger ages too.
Well, I created this offense, and it's a simple offense because this question always came up, and I call it ABCs. Okay, so ABCs plural, which is always be creating space or always be cutting and screening, right?
Sure.
So that way it's just okay. It's like run to first. Okay, what do I do? Right. So I'm either creating space,
and it
or
becomes
I'm
a habit.
cutting and screening.
It becomes a habit.
It becomes a habit.
You know, the great comment from one of my players, she is now a mother of 2. How old is Stacy? Stacy's 37 years old. And I showed a video on Facebook where we're going over 4-on-4 shell, and I have 3 coaches, former players, jumping to the ball and short sprinting. And it's like a clinic. It's an absolute clinic. And Stacy is 37. And her comment in Facebook was, I can still do this in my sleep.
I love that.
And why? Because it's a habit that's created with repetitions. That's your job as a coach. Another story is, I coached this boy I coached in 1992, John, didn't play in college, but he played intramural at Santa Clara. He came back to me and said, you know, I didn't know why I was calling a screen and hedging and recovering back. I didn't know why I was jumping the ball. I didn't know why I was checking off after the shot. I didn't know why I was doing that. And I said, well, John, it's because it's in you. It's like you hit the ball, you run it first. But as a coach, you have to create those habits with repetition. And the problem with younger kids, not that it's a problem, is that you have to shave down what they want them to master, but you have to make it fun and exciting. It's not fun and exciting coming to a jump stop, you know, or a balance stop. You have to make it fun. But after you do the basic stuff, then you play games to get them to create that, you know, pass and jump stop and that's where you play keep away, where they have to jump stop as they catch the ball. So yeah, I'm getting out of breath.
Well, Coach, this has been fabulous. I can't thank you enough for coming on the show today. We could talk probably all evening, and you know, we'll cut it here. We'll come back for episode 2. So coaches, stay tuned for episode 2, where we are going to talk about your framework. I think about it as a framework, business guy, so I always think about
Sure.
framework, and which is your vision, decision, and execution. So stay tuned for that. We're gonna have Doc back on. Thank you, Coach. Have a wonderful evening. This has been fantastic.
My pleasure.
Hey, Coach, so glad you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed it a lot. Actually, if you did, subscribe and like, and then go over and check out teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better.